Who's
back, everyone. We had some pretty comical stuff before we started here, so I won't even bother going down that rabbit hole. But welcome back to episode 94. Getting close to that century mark. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got Kyle in the house, Lisa, Tyler.
Lisa with normal hair now?
Oh, Lisa. Oh,
Yeah.
Lisa. That's right. We forgot that. We might as well talk about this a little bit.
I will get some evil things lined up
What-
for
what's-
you guys
what's
in the
the-
future.
What's the time stamp on it? Do you know?
It's like
I think-
7-minute mark.
Oh, thank you, Tyler.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So episode 93, 7-minute mark, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Last week when we were recording this show, Lisa had a scarf on, and then she repositioned her scarf. And again, I have no hair, so I'm no one to judge. But all of a sudden, her hair just kind of went
Out of whack.
all out of whack, and
Mhm.
and she was very appalled afterwards that no one said anything. That
Right.
I didn't even notice, to be honest, because I was sitting at the angle.
Oh,
so
Keith
I didn't
noticed.
even see
I
it.
noticed. I saw the blue. It was like it was bloopers. I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna say? I have no hair, so I can't judge.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Anyways, but you find it all a little bit too much fun here.
Let's get into the show. Two truths and a lie. Last week we had a big Supreme Court decision, so I thought maybe we'll do a little Supreme Court style action for a little.
Can you hit the Judge Judy sound
Yeah.
button?
No.
No,
I don't know what
I like how
that
she-
one is.
she looked. She looked. She was like, "Oh, is it over?"
All right. Two
I
truths and a
don't
lie.
even know how that sounds like.
A, the Supreme Court receives 7,000 to 8,000 petitions per year, but only hears 60 to 80 cases. That's A. B, Woodrow Wilson was the only president to be also the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Who knows? Maybe Trump will be number 2.
Oh, God.
That last part is not part of the question. C, long-term job. William Douglas served as the longest judge for 36 years, 1939 to 1975. That's a long time.
Mhm.
Those are your 3 options. I'm gonna go with Lisa. She's new to the country, and she probably having all the civics lessons, which again, I
She
don't
probably
think that-
knows better than the rest of us.
pretty much.
Well,
That's why-
there's a lot of numbers going on.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of trickery on this one.
Woodrow Wilson, I don't know, to be honest. I also don't know. William Douglas served 36 years. Sounds a little bit excessive to me, but given like the average age of these judges, probably. I go with A, 7,000 to 8,000 petitions a year. That sounds a lot, but I think 60 to 80, given like the time they're spending on them, sounds a little bit too much
All
for a
right.
year.
Mm.
So I
Like a
go with A
rationale,
as to
good.
lie.
Tyler?
Well, so I can't remember what Supreme Court case it was. But I did read up on the Supreme Court a little bit, and I'm pretty sure they do get 7,000 to 8,000 a year, and they literally only hear 60 to 80 per year. Because then there's windows where they actually like make judgments.
Yeah, which we just had one recently.
Which we
Obviously.
just had one. So I think A is actually true.
Lisa goes, I don't know. I'm worried about my
Look at
hair.
me.
You keep going, Tyler.
Woodrow, I mean, isn't there supposed to be a separate? I don't know when the separation of Supreme Court and the executive office was put in place.
I assume they weren't at the same time.
Right. So I would actually probably go with B, knowing how long some of these judges can serve. 36 years sounds excessive, but at the same time, you're back in 1939.
Hmm.
So I'm going with B.
All right. Kyle?
I don't know. I was my gut says A is probably correct. If that 7,000 to 8,000 might seem low, I bet you they get more than that. But 60 to 80, I feel like is probably proper. I'm gonna just split the difference and go C because
Wow.
I bet you William Douglas.
Probably like 32 years. or
Yeah,
something.
but you monkeyed with the numbers.
Oh,
so-
come on, you guys. I did not. And guess what? Our oldie but goodie back picked correct. It's B.
Yes.
You
Got it.
you got, like the rationale, 7,000 to 8,000 is right. 60
Okay.
to 80 is correct, which, Lisa, I thought that was high too, but that's
For me, I thought that was
so
it's too
I
high. yeah.
agree on that. And then C, William Douglas, he hung around for 36 years. I didn't do anything with that.
So how many presidents have Did they tell you? Did ChatGPT
I think that was
tell you?
Yeah, ChatGPT. I think that might be the only one. I don't know.
So
But that was actually a
that-
good
wait, so
quiz.
he was
No, it wasn't Woodrow Wilson. It was Howard.
Oh.
It was the president before. I think it's Taft.
Taft was on the Supreme Court.
So again, this is like 1900s, 1900.
Yeah.
So he was the president
first,
before
or
Woodrow. He came after Roosevelt. Then it was Taft, and then it was Woodrow Wilson.
yeah, but
so I just changed.
so
that.
Taft was president, and then after his,
Yes.
then he was on the court.
Yes.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's
So,
crazy.
But
Lot-
anyway, I
lot
just
of power
changed the
there.
president.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I
Interesting.
mean,
Very
I thought-
motivated.
Who appointed him? I now have to read about this.
now you
Look
have
what
to
you did.
figure it out.
Can
He
you
was
he pointed himself.
Yeah, I don't know how that would have
After
Yeah.
I drop
Did he?
out, I go to
I
the
mean,
Supreme Court.
No,
The-
yeah,
the president
yeah.
appoints.
Good question.
The
I guess that'll be a follow up in the next episode. I didn't read enough on
Supreme
the, on
Court
the
appoints
fun
the-
facts. All right, let's get
I'm gonna look it up.
well. Let's get to the Supreme Court decision that actually impacts us or the markets. Kind of that came down Friday. Lisa, you did a nice job of writing a market reflection on kind of outlining what happened, and basically the speculation was for the last 3-4 months that we'd actually get a decision whether the tariffs were legal or illegal. Finally, on Friday, the Supreme Court came out and said they're illegal. And interesting enough, the vote was 6-3 in favor or against the administration with the use of tariffs, which I thought was interesting because everybody always says it's a political body, which I think that's kind of encouraging in my mind. So what are you guys' thoughts on kind of the decision, kind of the ramifications? And we'll start with Kyle on this. I'm sure he's a Supreme Court guy and he's into the weeds.
I don't know about any of that. Yeah, no, I think it's probably, it makes sense. I did read a summary of the ruling. I agree that the 6-3, layout is probably good from a maybe demystifying that anchoring to political body. So yeah, I don't know. I think the tariffs, it makes sense to probably have those invalidated because otherwise, everything's tariff. Article 1 of the Constitution is literally Article 1 powers are for Congress,
Yep.
and it's for levying duties and taxes, and both of those are under the tariff, regime. So probably makes sense that's there. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but the market didn't react at all. I mean,
Yes.
we were
Yeah,
literally
it was-
watching it. It was like it was a nothing burger. The estimates on Polymarket Kalshi were 70% or whatever.
Yeah, 70% that they would get overturned. So it wasn't a big shock or like, oh my
Right,
goodness.
right.
So
But yeah,
that's your point.
nothing moved. Like the market was, I think it was up a little bit.
Yeah, and the
0.5%.
bond market didn't, which usually that's a little more sensitive on these
Right.
bigger kind of decisions. Didn't do anything.
Right. So
Tyler, what are you?
Yeah, I mean, similar thought process there. 6-3, probably good to get rid of the whoever is picking, like whatever party gets to pick the Supreme Court justices ends up getting
The way for the next decade or two,
Right,
right?
exactly. So I think that was good. Obviously, some of them did vote along party lines. I think.
I think there's always
there's always gonna be
three.
some,
I think there's
you
3
know.
and 3, and I think there's 3
Yeah,
kind of in the
so
swing.
Mhm.
it is what it is. But it's good that it gets rid of that thought process, if you will. From the market perspective, I was actually very surprised that, especially with the conversations of, do we need to pay back
mhm.
the tariffs?
That's
I
right,
was
the
very
biggest.
surprised that the bond market did not move that much. And actually, from that ruling, the 10-year treasury is actually lower than it was, which surprises me a little bit just because of how sensitive we are right now to our national debt. And what was the number of 175
Yeah,
billion,
170.
right? So it's not like we have that. The
Loose change and the couches to pick up.
that cash is already gone.
Yeah.
Which means if we do have to pay it back, there's another 175 billion that we're going to have to issue. Now the actual auctioning of treasuries has been actually quite strong, which has been a little bit surprising. And maybe that brings back so maybe maybe don't. The Japanese are the largest holders of U.S. debt, and a lot of foreign national countries are holders of U.S. debt just from the currency perspective. With all of the U.S. With all the trade that goes on and everything that trades in U.S. dollars, they have to have treasuries. And our deficit, they just with what we're buying from these other countries, they have to own U.S. treasuries. So maybe the bond market didn't move as much because it could potentially bring back those significant buyers of treasuries. But I was a little bit surprised that the bond market didn't actually move that much, just because of the 175 billion that we're going to have to issue at some point if we do have to pay that back.
Well, I don't know if they have to issue it though, because doesn't it go in a short-term deposit account? I thought I read something in the FT a couple months. We were talking about this where it goes in like a holding tank at the Treasury for, I think it's like 100 and
maybe
or like 200 days or something like that, and then there's a if refunds are required, there's a form and there's like a process that is needed to get that out, and then it happens relatively quickly. A couple months ago, I think it was November, December, when this stuff was starting to unfold and it looked like that they would be struck down. There was an article, I think in Bloomberg, talking about them actually moving it from that short-term deposit bucket actually into long-term, into the Treasury, like, you know,
Safe hold.
the safe hold or whatever.
Hmm.
And once it gets moved in there, then it's like impossible to get it out. So it takes you can still get it out through lawsuits, but it's like years and years worth of like waiting around, and it's basically death by death by waiting, you know. So but if that process were to happen, I could totally see them issuing debt. So that makes sense. So I'll have to read a little bit more about it, but I thought that was the mechanics of it.
My guess is that number is not getting paid back.
Yeah.
It'll be lawsuits galore. It'll be, the problem is it's who you paying that back to, the companies who basically passed on the consumer.
Right,
So the
yeah.
consumer is the one that probably in the end kind of was getting a little more screwed on the whole deal.
But
And then now you're gonna pay the corporations back, so they get a net bonus for something they passed on to the
and
consumer.
lawsuits with U.S. government tend to
Yeah.
Just
even if you're
drag
doing
on.
class action with all of these different companies, like
This could be
looking
decades.
at
Right.
What did you see? FedEx, the commentary about them. So who pays the tariffs? So have you seen this or no?
Mm-mm.
So basically what happens is you order something from the UK or, you know, wherever else, package comes to you, and then on your door, there's a, you know, the package, and then there's a slip that goes with it. That's actually the tariff slip, the tariff receipt. You may have seen this, I suppose.
I know, but when I get a package from home, then
Yeah.
it's
Right.
yeah.
But FedEx, on the note, FedEx has paid the tariff on your behalf, and then they pass it to you and you pay them.
Mhm.
Right. So they have fronted it, covered it for you, but then they've asked for an additional payment receipt. Right. And then you then pay that. And so if they then get a refund for what you've already paid, they're like double dipping and they're getting free, you know, money. So it's almost like it's a boondoggle where you're screwing the customers. That is not a good optic for companies like that. Same with Costco or any of these others. So I think it could be a problem.
Yeah, I think it's still a mess. Lisa, yeah, I mean, you're kind of the resident experts that you did a lot of research on this. What do you think happens next as well? I mean, kind of obviously that Trump basically came out that day on TV and surprisingly is like, oh, acted like it was a victory, which kind of head scratcher what it did. But anyway, well, the next steps, I guess.
I think no one was really surprised again, and Kyle, you mentioned it. I mean, back in November, they were issuing already some thoughts around that and some arguments where there was more like leaning into the direction they probably strike it down, and what happens then. And then there was a lot of thought process. Okay, what can come in instead of the tariffs that go away, which is 60% under the regulation.
60% of the whole tariff.
60% of the whole tariffs are now falling away, and there's multiple other authorities that the administration has that can, again, like Trump said in the press conference after the ruling was released, he increases automatically under Section 122 10%. Later upped it to 15. Now we have 10% again.
And 15 is the max in that ruling.
15
right?
is the max, yeah. And it also includes just countries that the U.S. has massive deficits with, trade deficits. So it cannot be issued for just plain all of them. And then after 150 days, the Congress needs to rule on that, if they stay or if they go away. So again, that opens up new kind of discussions. What is a massive deficit? What is actually falling under massive deficit or not massive enough? So that is interesting. And then there is a couple of other authorities they can tap into. all of that takes a little longer to implement, is a little bit more gruesome to kind of get through. But it is said if it's implemented, then it can be a little bit more stable or more to, there to stay, basically, if it gets through. But I mean, it's said that overall, if all of these new tariffs, new regulations go through, that it probably makes up the majority of what was lost. So net at the end of the day, it does not change a
For the
whole
next
lot.
5 months, right?
For the next 5
150
months at
days,
least, and then
right.
Congress needs to weigh in. The only thing that I also thought about is, okay, there's trade deals that the administration did with about like 20 countries all around the world, like UK, European Union, Japan, South Korea, and all of that. And these are massive trade deals, and they were all negotiated on the terms of IEEPA, which are the tariffs that fall away now. So the thing is, the discussion, are these countries then adhering to the negotiated terms? And for example, and we don't know yet, I mean, there's very much subdued commentary from these countries. They just kind of wait and see approach and do not want to say yes and no. But for example, the European Union halted a parliament vote to kind of finally implement the trade deal that is on pause
after
now.
the ruling?
After the ruling. So that is on pause now. There was not a whole lot of commentary, but that's a commentary in and itself.
Yeah.
So they kind of wait and see, and maybe that trade deal just goes away completely. So there's to that, which we don't know.
And Trump basically came out and said, if that happens, I'm going to find some other way to penalize you, right? Is that kind of what the negotiate? Because it's kind of taking away a little bit of his power to negotiate. I mean, he's the art of the deal guy, right?
Yeah. And also with the reimbursements, I mean, there's a from 1998, there is like a precedent Supreme Court ruling where it was a similar thing where kind of tariffs were introduced, and they were later deemed illegal by the Supreme Court, and it was like $730 million that had to be paid back to U.S. importers. Also, the consumer didn't see a whole lot back then either. But that was only 730 million.
Yeah, order of magnitude.
Right, that's a mere little thing of the 175 billion that we are talking about today. And that process was an operational nightmare. It took, I think, over 2 years to reimburse finally. And again, it's operationally, like it does not also go automatically. So not all the companies, all the importers are automatically being reimbursed and getting a check. They have to go through a very manual process. But I mean, a lot of companies are waiting for that. I mean, there's over 1,500 companies who already put in their own lawsuits with the trade courts and who are kind of lining up to getting in line for a potential reimbursement. So the interest obviously is there. But again, it took 2 years with 730 million. I don't expect it to be any faster now. I think the exact opposite. It's even more questions. And then also the consumer, right? I mean, Walmart kind of charged you for a pair of sneakers that the additional tariffs, they will not give you back the tariffs on these sneakers after a couple of months. So again, like to Kyle's point, is like our companies are then getting out with a net benefit.
Well, the question too is Walmart's raised the prices to cover the cost of tariffs. They're not going to lower the prices of these sneakers.
Heaven forbid that happens.
And that's the next question is like, what happens? Like they are not probably going lower with the prices. Then there's new tariffs introduced now. So maybe that's a new way to say, oh, we have to, raise prices because of the new tariffs. That basically is a net zero sum game. So it's kind of so as of now, the consumer seems to be kind of, on the short end of the stick on both sides, not lowering prices, maybe even higher prices or raising prices down the line with new tariff regimes and not getting back reimbursements.
I wonder if, from my earlier comment, the boondoggle of, FedEx or, Walmart, as you were just mentioning, I wonder if you think about like the reputational risk of getting in line, the however many thousand you said were already like in line waiting with their hand out, even if it takes years. I do wonder if that creates an opportunity for some to actually, because the expectation, maybe I'm reading the room wrong, but it seems like the expectation is if they do get the tariff money back as a refund, they're not going to pass it through to the end consumer.
And they're not lowering prices.
And they're not
either.
lowering prices. So it's kind of like a screw you guys, where it's all for us. I do wonder if that creates an opportunity for kind of the spirit of society, you know, kind of companies, which there are some that exist out there that are providing value for the consumer if they do that as like a pass through. I do wonder if that would be an interesting marketing opportunity for some.
Oh, for sure.
It wouldn't be the norm, but I do wonder if that will happen.
I think it depends on the size of your company.
Yeah.
So back in whatever 1998, you have a lot more mom and pop type of shops. So I think the reputational risk back then is much greater. Whereas Walmart goes back and files for a lawsuit. Are you stopping shopping at Walmart maybe for a month?
No, but if Target comes out and Walmart pockets it, but Target's like, hey, our stock's been trash. We've been going through a reimagination. Here's money back. Here's $100 gift card for every customer who comes in between the, you know, or whatever it is.
No,
that could be a tremendous boon for them.
But I don't think your normal base of because of the massive conglomerates and the roll-ups that you've had over the last 30 years, I don't know that the reputational risk, maybe for some of these smaller companies that are doing that, I just don't think the reputational risk is there. It's going to hit the news for a day. People are going to be pissed for a month, and then they're going to go back shopping at Target, Walmart, whatever, Cub Foods, like whatever, wherever you normally shop at, you're going to go right back.
And also you have to see, I mean, there's the recency bias, right? Kind of what you heard in the news yesterday or the last couple of weeks. I mean, that takes years. Even if it's ruled, and the Supreme Court kind of left that to the lower court, so they didn't rule on that, which was interesting that they had no comment on that. Even if it's ruled, okay, they have to reimburse, this takes like years. It took like 2 years with 730 million.
Yeah, people will
forget. Can you imagine? People will forget. Exactly. Then the headlines will come down. This will not be all, you know, it takes long. It will not be reimbursed all at once. It kind of goes trickle by trickle by trickle. The companies are not interested in making a whole lot of noise around that. Court things is, you know, not really see-through. You know, it's not really interesting for the news channels to cover that anymore. So it's like probably it, you know.
I suppose to Tyler's point, in some of the bigger companies, if the refund were large, you might see it as an extraordinary item in an earnings call.
They're not going to.
The biggest thing, how would you track, like, say the companies do want to give it back to your consumers that were eating it? How would you go back? Because you'd want to refund the person that was paying it, right? So it's like, I don't know how you would.
Right.
It'd be too difficult for them.
It's a lot. But a good example of the recency bias that Lisa brought up was like, okay, U.S. men's hockey won gold for the first time in 46 years. So I listened to K-Fan, which is the sports talk radio in the morning. They talked about it for about 20 minutes yesterday, and
on to the next thing.
On to the next thing about the NFL Combine was all they talked about today.
That's a big drop off.
Yeah, right? Like it's like it is what it is. Like people just don't. The news and everything follows whatever the next new hot thing is, and so there'll be a news item on it one day of Walmart got, you know, $500 million back, and then people are going to be upset. And next day,
that's true.
You're onto the.
You were just talking about that with the Minnesota fraud here this morning.
That's true.
It's just
that's
like all of a sudden those and the headlines and all.
That being said, I do think there's certain, because I feel like there, yes, most of the time, but there are those one-offs. So you think about like Kid Rock with the Bud Light stuff, like a couple years ago, like that literally tanked that company.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, you know, it's like a cultural flashpoint. People,
but that was way faster turnaround. That was like in the moment,
totally agree.
And everything happened. Right now, nobody probably can remember that anymore, and no one
totally
makes
agree.
decisions
well,
based
in
on
10
that.
years,
I mean, that takes years.
Yeah,
Walmart got $500 million back from the tariffs back in 2025.
Yeah,
in 10 years, like, is that even going to be a
You'll be in a new business cycle at that point. Yeah.
It's interesting. So it's obviously there's no conclusion from. I think we conclude that tariffs are still going to be around. There'll be some version of it, and the effective tariff rate was 2.5% before all this April Liberation Day began, and now even I think Lisa, you mentioned I think in your note it's going to go. Is that currently effective as 13%?
Mhm.
Estimates are 13 to 17. Say it's 13. So you back out 8%. We're still at 5% of effective. So it's doubled where we were a
Mhm.
year ago. I mean, so now we're lapping, from the investment side, April almost a year ago. So things should be getting better on a year-over-year comp, especially if you start backing out tariffs. So I think it's potentially a good thing for that bottom end of the consumer, kind of that K-shaped stuff we keep talking about. I think that could help that demographic, which I think could be a net positive for the markets on
Well,
that
but
part of
the only question though is like we talked about it. Are these companies actually going to lower the prices to help out that lower end consumer?
we got tax. I mean, but we always look at year-over-year change, right? So
Yeah.
it's like there'll be less incentive them to increase their year-over-year prices, right? If they just got this.
But the only
But
thing
But then
is,
from the market standpoint, your earnings per share aren't going to be growing as much because they're not going to be
there's
raising
always a
prices.
put and take,
So
right?
I mean, maybe that helps
Demand
consumers,
versus-
but how does that affect the market?
Yeah.
They'll pick it up in volume.
and the only thing is, I don't know, because some people argue, okay, some of the uncertainty went away now with that ruling. And it's kind of not really true, because now we have a ruling that this go away, but there's other authorities that the president is not backing down. Obviously, he said that in the press conference already. He's introducing new tariffs with other authorities. They have to be revisited in 5 months latest by Congress. That one thing. There are 2 or 3 more regulations that he can tap into. Then there is new questions already. Okay, what is a massive deficit? Does that open up maybe a new court case, right? What kind of falls under that? So I don't know if there's really a whole lot of uncertainty that went away.
Yeah, it did.
I would argue
Yeah.
before that it was more certain, because companies kind of got like used to that, and I was like, okay, this is the situation that we have to face. It got a little bit quieter. We had trade deals coming in that kind of made it a little bit safer to plan. And now it's again like, okay, what is happening, right? And what tariff rate will we have at the end of the day? What will stay? What is happening in 5 months, if they go into effect or not? So I would argue it's not a whole lot more certain than it was before.
No, that and it's funny, as we've been saying for quite a while, that the tariffs raise a lot of revenue for the government. That's $175 billion. There was a hardcore Democratic person on TV this morning, and basically what we've been saying is, say the next administration goes Democratic, do you really think that they don't want that tariff revenue to be able to spend? So I think that revenue is here to stay.
We
regardless of
talked
all
about
this
that
stuff.
earlier. Well, I guess it was last year already at this point, almost a year ago. When the tariffs came on, you had, so in Trump version 1, you had the 232 tariffs, which were steel and aluminum and all that kind of stuff. When those went on, they did not come off during the Biden administration. They were extended and actually enhanced. They were increased.
I mean, you can see if the administration flips within the next election, 2028, and there's a Democratic president, I mean, that's a gift, basically.
Yeah, it's additional
have
revenue.
Additional revenue, and you can blame Trump for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like...
That's what I mean. I think they're here to stay.
That's
Whatever
right.
here to stay.
That's for the next administration. If it's gonna flip, that's great. You have more revenue, and you can blame someone else for it.
Right.
That's usually how it goes, right? I mean,
All it
that's
is
probably
just
not
an
going
additional
away.
tax for consumers.
Yeah.
Right.
So stay tuned. I don't think this issue is going away. We'll be talking about it probably next year, probably in a slightly different
Probably.
form. So, all right, we'll quickly transition to a couple different things. State of the Union. Obviously, anybody listened last night? Kind of on the back of all this political stuff. Anybody?
No.
I
Lisa?
did not listen live, because I knew, as far as we all know Trump so far, that it probably takes a long
Oh,
time.
boy.
And I've read in the morning, and I've read like the, what is the main points and the main takeaways and the kind of the summary. So probably we were fine with just a summary. And it was the longest ever State of the Union speech ever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No
Did you bet
surprise.
your poly market on that?
No, I did not.
There
I
was
should
a
have.
100-minute or more or less, yes or no. You could have won.
I could have won.
It's
I should
108
have, because I
minutes.
thought like, okay, he probably beat the last record, which was also set by him.
How
by
many
the way,
people do you think, like, when there's bets, like polymarket type bets on that type of stuff?
There were millions of dollars of volume on it.
That's what I mean. Like, how many? like
Just like betting on anything, coin flip.
It's
or whatever, right?
unbelievable.
Yeah,
There was a
Mhm.
really
but
interesting piece
it
about
is
that
so
in Bloomberg
easy
yesterday.
if you are the like I can't
Person
remember what
that did
company
the-
it was. I think
the
it was like
betting on it.
Coinbase
Yeah.
or one of the crypto companies. There was a whole bunch of polymarket bets on different words that the
Mhm.
CEO would say during the
Mhm.
call, and literally he basically like started out.
Yeah, it
the
was
call.
Coinbase.
Was
Mhm.
it Coinbase?
Yeah.
He basically
And he
started
was,
out
yeah.
the call and was like, "Okay,
He stopped halfway through.
I need to start the I need to say these words," and then just started ticking off the list that was on Polymarket, and I'm like, if that is there's no way to
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah.
it's
So he started.
easy.
I
Mhm.
went back and re-listened because I was like, "Is this true?" He started the call and did a normal earnings call. He was halfway through the call, and then like the poly market probabilities were like shifting around as he was halfway through the call, and then he stopped, and then he was like, "Toot, toot, 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 toot." And then it was like ka-ching for
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
it's just
So it's like,
But I've also read like there's people out there who just do that now as a job. They were like, hey, I just kind of bet on the weather and kind of make money on it, and it's kind of just do that without really betting on the thing that is actually underlying
Well,
question. But they're just
there were words in
throwing
the
that
State of the
in.
Union
There's
last
two
night too that
issues
people were
there.
betting on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
two
No,
issues
it's-
there.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I listen
Yeah.
to 45 minutes. It's the same nonsense that both parties do. So
Yeah.
the reason I kind of want to listen to it is because the Olympic hockey team was going to be on there, so I wanted to see that. That was pretty cool. So let's jump into that. Tyler, you played hockey.
Yep.
I assume you watched the game.
Of course,
Your take on it, Kyle? I
Oh,
know you watched it. You and I
we
talked
Yeah,
about
it
were-
was good.
we were not the best team.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
We should have lost, but
Un-American.
and I don't know
American,
how,
bigly.
I don't know how I feel about the OT 3-on-3 format. I
Yeah,
think
not a fan.
for like the Olympics, I think I'd rather have a 5-on-5.
I
just like
think it was
traditional.
NHL kind of mandated, that
Yeah.
just so injuries and time.
I would more. It kind of takes away a little bit for me the gold medal just because it's like.
But you know that
3-on-3.
Sidney Crosby won the goal against the U.S. in 2012 was 4-4. I didn't realize that.
Oh really?
Yeah, so it was the same type of format. They
Yeah.
want to have less, more scoring opportunities,
Yeah.
so less time.
I remember that goal though.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
remember it
fantastic.
being 4.
I'm
but
not a Canadian.
either
guy,
way.
but-
When I think back to like the 1980 Olympic, I know that wasn't overtime, but
Yep.
like I just think back to like the thrill of it, the traditional like format of hockey. But it was still very cool to.
yeah.
I was.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, it was.
And then what killed me the most though, and I'll admit I actually like started crying a little bit, was when they brought Johnny Gaudreau's
oh my
kids
God,
out on the
same.
ice.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a little bit.
that just killed me.
Yeah,
but-
that's pretty patriotic. I mean, his
Mhm.
family is fantastic. Kyle, your thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, there's some classic Americana in terms of the
Mhm.
imagery, like the photos.
Yeah.
I mean, not only
Jack Hughes.
yeah,
The
the Jack
teeth.
Hughes with the teeth when the
Busted
flag
teeth.
over him.
Yeah.
I'm like, this looks AI. It doesn't
Yeah.
even look real. Like it looks like a photo from the 80s. It was just like perfect. Loved it. Yeah, and then the shots on goal, the overhead shots,
Yeah,
just amazing. It
the
was
Hellebuck save
yeah.
with the
Yeah.
stick.
it was a
Very-
great it was a great
Lisa, non
Yeah.
sports fan. What were your? Did you watch it?
No, I did not watch
What,
it.
Lisa?
But I want to point out it's not only the men here. The
I know. I was
ladies
gonna
also
get to it,
won
yeah.
gold,
Yeah.
so
No, I was gonna get to
let's
women's is fantastic. That
yeah.
one overtime victory
Yeah.
again. It was U.S. Canada for both.
it was
of them.
both of U.S.
Yep.
Canada. So
I will say
both
that
the
the
win
women's
for-
goal was pretty incredible.
Oh, that was like
Overtime
if you
winner.
want to have an overtime winner, that was fantastic. The
Mhm.
move that she made and the goal, that was
And also, we have to point out that a lot of the players on both sides, or for a lot of the Olympic games in total, are Minnesotans.
yeah.
So there's
that
a
was-
Yeah.
huge percentage of Olympians.
There's like a dozen of
from
them, I think, right?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
The curling team was heavily Minnesotan, I think.
Mhm.
Hockey on both sides, a couple. So
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota was strong in the Olympics.
No, the hockey game, because I'm old enough. I remember 1980s, barely. I was very young, but I do remember it. And to realize that it's been 46 years is just
It's crazy.
crazy. And then it's just the whole storyline was just fantastic. If you're American and like sports, it's like I don't know how you couldn't.
I think Netflix is already around the corner watching.
Oh yeah,
Well,
totally.
They got two sets of brothers playing. and
Yeah.
Has anybody watched the Herb Brooks documentary
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have to go back.
because like growing up as a hockey player, like every hockey tournament you'd watch Miracle on Ice.
Yep.
And then I watched the
100%.
Herb Brooks documentary, and it sheds a new light on like the 1980 team and why he was the way he was for that team. And so just highly recommend, if you need to watch anything, watch the Herb Brooks documentary on Netflix.
No, so my son played hockey too, and all the time we'd have the screen and the thing. I'd be driving, I could hear it. Every tournament we'd watch, they would watch as boys in the back. And then the night before this game, my son Jack and daughter Paige, we watched the Miracle on Ice.
I watched Miracle on Ice
the night we watched
last
it.
week,
we watched it the night before the game.
He was hyping himself up.
Oh yeah, we're getting all going. So then us three watched it. It was it's just a memory you won't forget. Kind of where you're at watching it, and it was just a special. And again, it could have went the other way just because Canada was the superior team. I think.
Yeah, it was cool
if you play a long time. But just like sports, you never know what happens. The goal was fantastic. The imagery, the looks, seeing him at the stadium was kind of cool. Just that it was a true kind of American moment. So.
Yeah. Well, and the patriotism, afterwards, although, it was just
just proud to be American.
Well, I'll throw out there too. There's a lot of guys that are getting. There was like 5 guys that didn't attend.
Yep.
They're getting a lot of heat for it.
I didn't attend,
but they
at the State of
Union. A lot of that 5. They're also
playing.
They're playing a hockey game tonight.
Yeah, if you read into the details of the 5, I think most
like where should they be? I mean, they have to decide.
They got a job too and decide again. Again, I'd probably call in sick for that day, the first day back on the job, and State of the Union is pretty cool, even if you not a political person. Just to be in that arena.
Yeah, you'll probably never get invited again. So
no. Anyway, all right. I hope we covered a lot of ground here. So like and subscribe. See you next week.
Mm-hmm.